Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Irfan Hussain, your teacher, and today we are going to study things they carried. Rather, it would be an introductory lecture that will be an exploration of the narration written by Tim O'Brien about Vietnam War. See, that this story is in fact the things they carried is in fact a collection of narratives and that is about the Vietnam War, and the actual thing that we have to understand right from the beginning, that this story or the other stories in this collection, they are not meant to show the battlefield. In fact, in actual sense, these stories show the feeling that are connected with the devastation of battle. And right from the period of the history that we are going through right now, we are facing Pakistan-Afghan war, we are observing Iran, America, Israel war, we have seen the war of Palestine. So all these wars now make these things easy to understand, not through the fiction, but also from the media, from the daily podcast, and all these things that make the things easier to understand about the war and its devastations. The Things He Carried is a seminal work by Tim O'Brien that delves into the emotional and physical burdens faced by the soldier during the Vietnam War. So, see, the focus is on the Vietnam War because Tim O'Brien himself was a part of the war and he faced and experienced all these calamities of the war. And he's equally sympathetic to all the people who are suffering from these troubles. And the focus is that it also shows a physical burden. You say things they carried. For example, a soldier is going to fight a war, and he must have his bag and package. He must have his tools. He must have his eatables. He must have his pack of uh, weapons. But along with this, they have many emotional and mental burdens. They have their feelings, they have their memories of their families. All these things we will discuss in this lecture. So it is not only recounts the harrowing experience of war, but also reflects the themes of memory, trauma, and the complex nature of truth in storytelling. So, what is truth? What is true? You know that war has always been romanticized, even in the present period. We are romanticizing the war of Iran and Afghanistan because we are not facing all these troubles or sufferings directly. Tim O'Brien is an acclaimed American author known for his poignant storytelling and exploration of Vietnam War experience. His own service in Vietnam profoundly shaped his writing, allowing him to convey complex emotions and truth about war, memory, and identity. As I earlier told you, that he himself had been the part of the war, so he could tell better than other people who could, like what we can do. We can observe, we can see, we can feel, but we cannot experience these wars. We are not facing, we are not experiencing these wars, so we cannot develop that kind of thought or that kind of um, uh, approach towards war that a person who has himself fought the war can do. His other famous works, all about these kind of wars, especially in the context of Vietnam War, going after Kyoto, won the National Book Award, and then another one is If I Die in Combat Zone, based on his real war experience. In the Lake of the Woods, that is a kind of psychological mystery. So see, it's a historical context. If we see the historical context of the war, we come from start from the 1945, end of the World War II, we all know, and the beginning of colonial struggles in Vietnam. You see, when it was end of 1945 war, the World War II, America, England, and these allies won the war. That is a fact. But they got very weak. They got that much weak that it was very difficult for them to keep their hold on their colonies. So that was a time when a number of countries got freedom, including subcontinent Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and these kind of freedom struggles started in all the dominion of Great Britain. And they in fact wisely decided to leave these countries. That is another debate why did they do that. But along with other countries, Vietnam was one of them that started colonial struggle or started to get rid of slavery. Then there came 1954, the Geneva Conference leads to the division of Vietnam into North and South, escalating tension. So Vietnam was divided. This division has always been done by the great powers. As you can see, the division of Gulf, as you can see, the division of subcontinent, and we can see the division of other regions, because they divide the countries according to their own benefit, according to their own future plan. That future plan may be of 50 years, of 100 years, or 200 years. So Vietnam was divided into two parts, and that uh, increased the tension. Then 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin incident escalates US involvement in Vietnam with increased military action. What was the Tonkin incident? In fact, in Vietnam coast, by the coast of Vietnam, uh, two warships were hit by uh, Vietnamese Vietnamese people. These were the warships that named, if I remember, USS Maddox, and it was hit by Vietnamese on 2nd August 1964, and then there was another attack on 4th August 1964. The later reports told that the first attack was a real attack, but the second attack that was on 4th August 1964 was a kind of false attack. In response to this attack, the that time President Mr. Lyndon B. Johnson, that was he was the president of America at that time, he put a resolution in Congress, and they they passed a resolution to give authority and powers to Mr. President to start war, to start military action against Vietnam. So that was a major turning point that started the Vietnam War in 1964. In 1968, the Tet Offensive marks a turning point in public perception of the war amid increasing opposition. What happened there? Tet means that's the start of New Year in Vietnam. In that particular incident, the North Vietnam, because I already have told you that Vietnam was divided into North and South Vietnam. The North Vietnamese and Viet Cong, these forces launched surprise attacks across South Vietnam. That was a time of the beginning of the New Year's, and ceasefire was expected at that particular time. But instead of ceasefire, these forces put some surprise attacks on Vietnam that proved to be a turning point in the Vietnam War at that particular time in 1968. Then in 1973, the Paris Peace Accord led to the withdrawal of US troops from Vietnam, yet the war continues for the Vietnamese. And this war was in fact prevailed for decades, and the later lecture or the discussions will tell you more detail about it. In 1975, fall of Saigon marks the end of the Vietnam War, leading to reunification under communist control. So that was the end of the war and the unification of Vietnam. This will be further discussed in the further lectures. So we have gone through the history. Now let us move to the next slide. Themes explored in the story. As I already have told you, burden of memory, nature of truth. So, see, truth may be shaped, truth may be a lie. A lie may be presented as a truth. In the modern time, it is easier to understand how truths can be modified and how truths can be made. And so, see, we see various things on media and social media and on other electronic media, and the truth is somewhere hidden or concealed. So, these stories tell the nature of truth about the wars. Courage and cowardice, both things are opposite to each other, and both things can be observed and seen in the war field, in the battlefields. Impact of war on identity. That's one of the major things. Structure analysis and what are the key figures? Tim O'Brien's personal journey and Norman Walker's hunting memories and Kiowa's spiritual significance. You see, now you have to read the text of the story and then you can understand the characters better. I'm giving you a little introduction about these things, but you have to study and read the story and its text. What are the symbolisms of the physical and emotional burdens? You see the physical items, what are they carrying? So you know, you can see in the story when you read this story, you see that the armed persons, the soldiers, are going to have a war, and they have their different kind of items. What are these physical items? Each object represents not just a necessity but a connection to home and loved ones. So they have the pictures of their children, of their families, of their wives. So all these items tell that they are in the war, but it doesn't mean that they have forgotten their family. They have the burden of the memories of their family. They have the burden of the responsibilities that have been associated with their families, and it leads to the emotional weight that the items carry memories, fears, and traumas that haunt the soldier beyond the battlefield, and that is easy to understand. Collective memory, shared burdens among soldiers, create a sense of camaraderie and collective experience. Individual narratives, every soldier's experience alters the significance of what they carry, reflected in their personal journey. So you see, every soldier has his own personal life, has his own personal experiences, and the all personal stories behind. So when you read this, the story, the text of the story, it will be easy to understand what kind of buttons they were having and what kind of individualities they are having and what kind of collective memories they are having. So this is a non-linear narrative. The story unfolds in a fragmented manner, reflecting the chaotic nature of war and memory. So, see, as war dissects everything, the story, the narration, the experiences, they cannot go smoothly, they cannot go linear. So these are non-linear. These are in the pieces, these are fragmented. As war fragmented each and everything, as war dissects each and everything, so is the story. Metafiction elements. O'Brien blurs the lines between reality and fiction, inviting readers to question the truth of storytelling. I will invite you to read the story, then we will discuss this further. Blinding fact of fiction. You see, whenever fiction is placed in some historical context, as we see in the Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, as we see Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas, as we see the Shakespearean historical plays, as we see Akhri Chitan of Naseem Hijazi, Muhammad bin Qasim of Naseem Hijazi, and Khakor Khoon. That is, Khakor Khoon is a completely fictional novel, but it has been placed in the context of Pak India